Hi everyone, this is Dawn again. This will be video 4 of 7 of the series that I'm doing for the federal employees that are affected by the mass terminations that are currently happening. This video is going to cover what happens to your leave balances when you separate from federal service, specifically annual leave or AL, sick leave or SL. And let's get right into it. All right. I put this slide up so you can go back and reread it, but I'm going to give you the general gist of what happens to your leave. When you separate from federal service, your unused annual leave balance will be cashed out and paid to you. This cash out does not usually show on your last paycheck, so do not expect it to be there. There is a process to getting the annual leave to cash out. This payout is triggered when your separation with your service is coded in the system by Human Resources or Tech Review, whichever entity in your agency oversees processing these blanket terminations within your agency. So the payout is usually paid out 2 to 3 pay periods after your last paycheck from the pay period in which you separated. Once the action is coded in the system, it takes anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to flow to the system that is your payroll processing entity for your agency, something like DFAS or DSIPs or etc. If they still have your direct deposit information, it will likely be direct deposited, but if they do not, there is the possibility that a paper check is cut and mailed to your address on file. However, the more likely event will be a direct deposit. When I resigned and chose to leave federal service, there was a delay in my human resources processing my separation. So I waited even longer than that average 2 to 3 pay periods. It was more like 5 or 6. They were that late in processing me. But my leave was cashed out and direct deposited. So that's how it worked for me. If they have a large backlog in trying to code all of these separations, it could be a little bit of a delay in getting paid out your annual leave, but regardless, whether you have 1 hour of leave to be paid out because you used your leave a lot, or you've got 200 hours to be paid out, they have to pay you for your annual leave. You are entitled to your annual leave being cashed out when you separate from federal service. But again, once they process your separation in the system and it's fully coded and it flows through the system, it will trigger to send that 24 to 72 hours later. That information will flow to the system and let the payroll processing entity know that, oh, hey, employee blah, blah has separated. Let's see what their annual leave is. Their annual leave on their last leave and earning statement, their current balance. Okay, this person's got 96 hours of annual leave. So you'll get paid out your leave balance. I always tell everybody, always try to hang on to at least your last leave and earning statement or LES. And it's important for a couple of reasons. One, you know what your balance was when you left. And also your sick leave. Your sick leave balance will not, I can't stress, don't look for this to get paid out. Sick balances will not be paid out to you, but they will remain in the system. They're lost to you in terms of being any cash out value, but they aren't lost to you should you want to return to federal service with another federal agency down the line, or to try and come back to the same agency where you were affected by the mass termination. Your sick leave will be held in an account and you will have it credited back to you should you return to federal service. You should keep a copy of that final LES, that leave and earning statement, to show your sick leave hours. Now, I also put on here, or you can provide a copy of your SF 1150. This isn't something you typically get in your clearance packet, but it is something you can ask of your HR once your separation is fully processed and you've had your annual leave cashed out. Then the payroll entity that handles that payout should be able to provide you that SF 1150. They can always do a request. It depends on the agency. Perhaps the HR can do it themselves, but usually it's the payroll department or the payroll processing entity like DFAS or DSIPs. It just depends on your agency. But that SF 1150 is simply a leave data. It just says what your leave was. Some agencies don't provide that. They end up, after an employee separates, that payroll processing entity like DFAS, for instance, they will send a big envelope of these, what they call in lieu of SF 1150s, and they're called employee data transfer sheets. And they are typically supposed to be uploaded to that employee's EOPF. But sometimes, depending on the agency, there could be a very large backlog of ever getting those uploaded, if at all. But if your agency doesn't do the SF 1150s, they could always reach out and see if they're able to get a copy of your in lieu of. But regardless, you should at least try to get your final leave and earnings statement and hang on to that. Most of the time, your payroll department for your new federal agency will honor that. And if they won't, then they can reach out and request an SF 1150 or an in lieu of employee data transfer sheets if they had to. But if you did return to federal service and you want to have those hours credited back, you would actually reach out to your payroll department for that new agency or the payroll technician that actually handles your new service about getting those hours credited back to you for your sick leave. So just to recap, your annual leave will be cashed out and paid out to you, but it doesn't typically happen on that last paycheck because your separation hasn't even been processed yet. Your separation has to be fully processed and coded in the system to trigger that, to notify the payroll processing entity that it's time to pay out your annual leave. So just know you should be paid for your annual leave balance, but your sick leave balance will not be paid out to you. It will just remain in the system, and should you ever return to federal service, those sick leave hours, you're entitled to have them credited back to you. So just hang on to that final LES, that last leave and earning statement that shows what your balances were the day you walked out the door when you were terminated. So I am going to go to the next video. The next video will be video 5, and I am going to be talking about your retirement plans, your TSPs, and your FERS. Your TSP being your thrift savings plan, and your FERS being your federal employee retirement system. So that will be my next video. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.